Hello, Team South Carolina, and welcome, captains, to your inaugural South Carolina High School League Captains Course. Let it begin. Wow, what an exciting day for us here at the High School League. A little under 500 captains from around the state of South Carolina. All of our fall sports are represented in this workshop. What a tremendous hour we have planned for you. We have a great group of presenters. You are all in such different settings. It's just such a unique atmosphere for today's workshop. Some of you are on your individual devices. Others are in small groups with coaches. And then some of you are on big groups with your leadership council. And that's just a cool situation. If you can just take a minute, maybe snap a few of those pictures and send those to us today through your social media outlets. If you'll kind of tag us and make sure you share with us a little bit, because we're excited about it. And I know, captains, you're leaders, so I expect pictures to come in. I'm really looking for those. I think that's going to be a cool situation. If you have any questions during today's workshop, make sure that you put them in the Q&A or chat area. And then at the end, with time that will be remaining, we will certainly ask some of those questions that come in. At this time, I welcome to the stream the Director of Communications for the South Carolina High School League, Ms. Tammy Newman.
Hello, South Carolina. Good afternoon. It has been far too long since I've been able to say that. We've had a tremendous summer and lots of time to prepare and develop and create lots of activities for the 2022-23 school year. So this inaugural captain's course is something we've been looking forward to. We have three very accomplished speakers today with lots of information. So we ask that you stay engaged, ask questions, and I'm here to serve you. First up, we have Coach Thomas Bell from Teal Hannah High School. Before he starts, let me share a little bit of information about him. He's in his 23rd year of education in South Carolina and his 14th as an athletic director. He's a graduate of Hillcrest High School and the Citadel. He was the 2019 statewide athletic director of the year, and he was honored by the South Carolina Athletic Administrators Association. He's well known as an athlete's coach as well as a wrestling nerd, and that is affectionately known as a wrestling nerd. He can answer anything about wrestling, among other sports and activities. He's also an unapologetic Twitter comic. If you do not follow Coach Bell, please do. I'm telling you, he will give you a giggle each day. There are many other facets to our first presenter, but you will get to know a little bit more about him as he shares his personal experience, not only with athletics, but also education. He has a lot of examples that he's going to share today. And most importantly, the responsibilities of being a captain and that team leader. So I asked you to join me in welcoming Coach Tommy Bell from Teal Hannah High School.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I am certainly excited to be here to talk about here at our first ever captain's workshop. And we're going to try to do these throughout the year to just kind of get a little bit more outreach from the high school league office down to the individual schools and try to provoke some conversation. What I hope today is myself and the other presenters will give you a few things that you want to take back to your team to try to start working on to make your team better for the 22-23 school year. As a coach, I know that my most successful teams were the teams that were really student leader driven. When I had great leadership amongst my students, it just made the entire organization flow so much better. So I hope you're someone that you take advantage of this opportunity. Someone in your school, your coach or your administrator nominated you to come today. So I hope you're taking some notes, or you're at least going to think about some of these things that we preach about, and you'll take it back to your team and make it a better experience. So to get us started, I'm doing the responsibilities of a captain, which I actually just shared the wrong side of my screen. So give me just 1 second. All right. I'm doing the responsibilities of a captain. So whenever we talk about being a captain, there's a lot of things out there that I think we misinterpret with leadership positions out there. So I just wanted to kind of go through the things that I see that immediately make me think, no, that guy's not a leader, or that girl is not the one that's in charge. Okay. Meeting with the officials before the game. That doesn't make you the leader of the team. Okay. Determining what uniform combination we will have. I've coached a lot of teams that had some really strong, opinionated people on some matters of fact that I didn't think were necessarily as important. Just being loud doesn't make you the leader of the team. Being the loudest voice in the room does not make you that leader. Okay. The best player on the field. Now, a lot of times I've had the ability to coach some outstanding athletes who were great leaders, but I've also, in my time as a coach, I had some of my best players were not my best leaders, and I had to kind of work through those situations. Having the best stats at the end of the night don't make you the leader. Calling out your teammates when things go wrong, that doesn't make you the leader. I love when I'm an administrator and I go to a game and I hear somebody, when things aren't going well in a game, there's a struggle happening, and somebody wants to be the one that calls everybody in to talk about what we're going to do to get things fixed, and they just start using all kinds of really poor and vulgar language. That doesn't make you the leader. And then, one of my favorites that I see is the one who tries to gather up support to get everybody convinced that it was really the coach's fault why the team is not successful. That doesn't make you the captain of a team. So these are not the reasons why you were chosen to participate today. So let's get into a little bit more about why your coach chose to make you the captain. And in some sports, it's a C on the uniform. In some sports, it's an armband like this, a captain's armband that's really important. In sports like soccer and things like that, where you're going to get more of an opportunity to be that leader on and off the field. Now, when we look up the definition of being a captain, it's typically there were a couple of different definitions, and there was one that pertained to sports. It's frequently honorary, but in some cases it creates an opportunity for significant responsibility for strategy and teamwork, which I thought was a little bit interesting. Because sometimes we have some athletes that, don't really want to get into the strategy part or being that leader to promote the positive teamwork. My other speaker is going to talk to you guys a lot about the things that you guys can do specifically to help be a better leader and a captain within your own team. They're going to talk about the philosophies of leadership, and then they're also going to get into more specific examples. What I wanted to do in my part of the presentation was talk about the two groups that you are responsible to. There are two main stakeholders that are going to be involved in your leadership situation, and it's going to be the coaching staff and it's going to be your teammates. Now, what I'd like for you to do right now while you're in this session, we've got a little chat button down there where you can answer a question. I'd just like you to throw out some of the things that you think. Number one, if I'm the captain of this team, what does my coaching staff want me to do? How do I show them that I am being a good captain? If you'll put one of those answers in the chat, we'll reference that a little bit later, and I just greatly appreciate that. And then number two, if you'll answer the second question, what are the things that you think your teammates want you to do to show that you are being a successful captain? Okay, those are things that are really important that I'm going to kind of touch on. And if for some reason there's not a chat button at the bottom, there's a Q&A button where you can put those responses that we'll maybe get to at the end of the session as well. But just want your brain kind of thinking about the topic that I'm going to get into, which is what the stakeholders want from you. So let's go through it first. I've given 3 things for each one of them. Number one, okay, the coach wants you to be the living and breathing example of what the standard of this program should be. All right, that one's pretty simple. I see a lot of answers that are out there now where people are putting some ideas and things like that. They want you to be the example. The coach wants to be able to walk over to someone who's struggling and point out and say, look at how Stephen's doing it. That's what we need from you. That's really one of the main things that the coaching staff is looking from you. All right. And I put another little note in there that says they need me to be the ultimate symbol of their leadership, because they will fail time and time again in dealing with individuals. We as coaches, our message doesn't reach all of our athletes. It doesn't. We do not bat 100% on reaching athletes. All right. It's a long season and we have lots and lots of different talks and strategies and things that we have to go through, and they don't always hit with everyone. We hope that our leadership council or our captains are the ones who can help fill in the gap as being that example of what I have set a standard for in our program. Number two, all right, the coaches want me to provide them with information about the other players. They want me to tell them the concerns, the fears, the frustrations, and don't forget the praises for the coaches as well. And I put in there that it needs to be in a manner that is productive. Now, this shouldn't put you in an alarming spot where you feel like you're being a snitch or a go-between between the coaching staff and the kids. They simply want you to be a discerning piece of the information between the coaching staff and the rest of the players. And that's a responsibility that we'll talk about a little more that sometimes we struggle with. And then finally, I know this one may not seem like something that's as obvious, and I haven't seen this one in the chat that anybody's put, but the coaches, when times get rough, they are looking at you to be an advocate for them. The coaches hope that you as a captain have seen how hard they have worked, how much time they have put into it, how committed they are to the group, and in times of despair, they want you to be that advocate for them. All right. And that's a really, really big component to keeping everything flowing really well amongst the team dynamic. All right. The other side of the stakeholder group is, what do my teammates want from me? Okay. My teammates want to be able to trust me. They need to know that I care about them, that I have their best interest in my heart, and that they can confide in me with information. All right. They want to trust you. So be a captain who shows a lot of ability for them to trust you. Okay. Number two, my teammates want me to be a respected member of the group. I think sometimes I'll go back to that component that we talked about. Sometimes our best athletes are our best leaders. Some of the problems that we have in being a captain and also being one of the star players is that it's hard for you sometimes to relate to the struggles of the other players. Ultimately, your teammates want you to fit into the group. They want you to be a part of the group, okay? They want you to represent them in a manner that is not separated from the rest of the group. Now, we all know out there that there are going to be players that are better than others on each and every team. You don't have to lower your level of ability or lower your level of expectation for the rest of your teammates. But when your ability doesn't match up with everybody else, your actions and your leadership skills can help bridge that gap and make sure that's what your teammates want. They want you to fit in with the group. And then finally, just like the coaching staff wants you to be an advocate for them, your teammates want you to be the advocate moving up the chain of command to the coaching staff. All right. They want to be able to confide in you, but they also want to know that you have their back and you're going to be someone who is more likely to take out the critiques that need to be handed out for your team, but also someone who's going to be willing to advocate on their behalf to the coaching staff. This may involve conversations about playing time. This may involve conversations about things that are going on in your personal life. The teammates want you to be the one who can help them navigate these difficult situations throughout the season. All right. So how do I consistently serve these two groups? I have two groups that want different things from me. I came up with 3 little bullet items, and if there are 3 things, I'll show them to you with a little more description, and then at the end, I'll give them to you just as short little bullet points that I hope you'll try to remember and take with you throughout your opportunities to lead this year. The first thing is that I, as the captain of this team, I made an agreement that I am going to engage in an effort to bond with each and every member of this team, including the coaching staff. All right, I'm going to look for opportunities to praise people. I'm going to look for opportunities to praise them in the public and then quietly correct. I'm going to make my positive attitude so infectious that everyone buys in and takes on that same manner. You're going to go through the struggles of ups and downs. We don't all get to have a baseball season like Blythewood did last year, where you win 27 games in a row. Something like that just doesn't happen in the sport of baseball. There will be ups and downs in your sport. For you girl golfers out there, you know it's from round to round. From you swimmers out there, you know that from week to week, your times can go up and down, and you're working just as hard the week after as you did the week before. There are going to be times where we need that person who has that positive attitude that is infectious to help us overcome the adversity. You, as the captain and leader of this team, you are taking that on. All right. Number two, I tell this to my coaching staff here at T.L. Hanna High School. I tell this to as many people as I can. I teach a class in the summer. Your job is to make sure, as the leader of this team, that everyone has a positive experience each and every day. Now, that doesn't mean everybody's going to be happy about their role on the team. Everybody is going to be happy about their playing time. That is not ever going to happen in a group. But you can make sure that they are still having positive experiences each and every day. Don't let that kid on your team who's not getting as much playing time, who's sitting at the end of the bench or standing down on the far side of the sideline, not engage when we're scoring a touchdown. Don't let that person exist in that space. All right, address that issue. Make sure that they are finding value in the team's success, not just their own. It's really something that you have to start on early in the season to make sure that everybody is buying into the overall growth of the team. A positive experience is what your job is there to do as a coach each and every day, but as a captain as well. Engage with everyone on your team. Number three, we mentioned it before that both groups want you to be the go-between. Both groups want you to be the advocate for them. So what I suggest that you do is you don't shy away from this position. You embrace this role. But I want to give you a little bit of a warning, okay? You've got to be able to filter information back and forth, but you've got to be able to discern and use language, and I put it there, that fosters the opportunity for growth, okay? What fosters the opportunity for growth. You are taking on in a leadership role, you're going to make that decision based on who is blowing off steam and frustrated, all right, versus who is giving real information that needs to be passed in between the groups, all right? I give an example here, all right? You know, Remy may need a little pep talk. She hadn't got to play in a couple of games and her confidence is really shaking, coach. That's a message that you can give to the coach to help him out while Remy's down at the end of the bench and maybe hasn't gotten to play in a few volleyball games and she needs a little pep talk. You as the leader know how Remy's feeling. Now, in actuality, what Remy might have said was, you could have said the actual thing, which was, Coach, Remy thinks that you're playing Sarah because you don't like her. She says that that's what her older brother said. Everybody says you always do. You play the favorites and she needs to look for a better coach to play for the next 2 years. Remy might say that in this situation, but what it is Remy's really frustrated about her playing time. You can choose how you deliver that information to the coach. All right. Can you deliver it in a way that allows the coach to get involved and engage and grow? Or do you deliver the gossipy, blowing off steam version of your conversation with Remy that just creates more drama and angst in the relationship between the coach and Remy? This is what we talk about when you guys discerning the information, and it certainly works both ways. As a captain, you'll hear things from the coaches that you have to pass down to the athletes, and you've got to do it in a manner that is very subjective and, again, continues to build the trust and the bond amongst the team. So in closing here, there's 3 things I want you to do. I just gave you a long version, but if you can remember as a captain that I'm going to engage with everyone each and every day, I'm going to work really hard to make sure that our team provides a positive experience for all each and every day. And then finally, number 3, I'm going to be an advocate with language that fosters growth. If you've got your cell phone or you want to take a screenshot of this and you can remember these things, your two stakeholder groups, the coaches and your teammates, will be very grateful for the leadership role that you take because you'll be reaching the needs of them. All right. Thank you very much for paying attention. I'll be around at the end. You can put those in the question and answer, and we'll get to them later on. But our next two speakers have a lot more specific ideas about how you can engage in being a leader and how you can provide more opportunities for leadership amongst your group. So thank you very much, everyone, for paying attention today. You're going to have a great school year this year, and your team is going to do well.
Thank you so much, Coach Bell. And I'm personally writing notes and screenshotting and so forth because just from my own experience, number 3 is golden. So I'm hoping that all of our team leaders are really absorbing, taking all of the information that you just shared, because it's very important in being a productive and positive leader. Moving forward, our next presenter is in his 27th year of education in South Carolina and his 18th as an athletic director. He is a proud graduate of Allendale Fairfax High School and Georgia Southern University. He was an outstanding football, basketball, and track athlete. You see that multi-sport athlete. It's very important. And coach. He's a member of the South Carolina Athletic Administrators Association, and he's now the vice president of the South Carolina High School League Executive Committee. Please, captains, he is here to share tips on communication to get you to the next level, not only in athletics, but also education. I ask that you warmly welcome Carlos Cave of Well Branch Early College High School.
Good afternoon. It is with a lot of excitement that I sit before you, student athletes, to talk about what leadership looks like from a captain's point of view. I'm now going to share my screen for my presentation. Hold on, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties right quick. So if you bear with me, getting the presentation up right now. Is everyone seeing my screen?
Not at the moment, Coach Cave. We see your lovely face. Let's see, while you're working on that, I'm going to go into our Q&A over here and I'm just browsing through, looking at some of the information that our guests, that some of our student leaders have put in here, some great examples of things reflecting on what Coach Bell was stating. And you guys really knocked it out of the park. We have close to 40 comments where you were each providing information saying that, you believe that a team leader should set the example. Oh, here we go. Coach Cave is ready. So I'm going to mute myself and let you carry on. Coach Cave, you're muted.
I'm still having an issue with my share. Could you just continue with the Q&A right quick? I think I see what the problem is.
Okay, well, let me go in here really quick. Okay, and Coach Cave, your screen was up a moment ago. Your presentation was up. But some of the examples that our student leaders across the state provided, leading by example, not only leading, but helping someone who may be struggling. They may be, your peers may be struggling, not just in the sport that you participate in, but also in academics. Okay, here we go. We're ready for you, Coach Cave.
Still having difficulties. Just would you continue with the Q&A real quick? I'm sorry for this delay.
No, it was up. Your presentation was up perfect. So I don't know what you did, but it went off the screen, but it was up perfect. Whatever, what you previously did. Okay, well, some more of our comments, suggestions from student leaders: handle pressure, make tactical decisions, and communicate effectively. That's always a good idea, to think before you speak, and definitely think before you act and react. So always, take that piece of advice before you react to something that may not be the easiest to hear, or, someone else does or says something that you don't necessarily agree with. Always think before you react to that. And as a team leader, I would also suggest that if you do have, if there's ever a moment where you do have a question about how to react or what you should do, that is a moment where you can share with your coach. Because again, you need to remember that the coach selected deems you as a leader of your peers. So that you're the liaison between the coach and the team. So that's a very important position to be in. Some of our student leaders are saying that the teammates need you to bring them up when they are down, to stay positive when they're down. You are the light. You are the beam of light for them. Coaches want to see you taking charge, being able to give them help. Teammates want to see a good attitude and willingness to help. These comments are coming from our student leaders from all sports this fall, all parts of South Carolina, and I am really impressed with the feedback we're getting from both male and female. We've got some golfers on, volleyball, some of our tennis players, football. We've got a lot of activity going on in the Q&A. And again, these comments are just really sharing on how you connect with your teammates and what works for them. So just, I want everyone to keep that in mind. And some of the notes that I had for the end of this, but I'll go ahead and share while we're waiting on Coach Cave. If you have your device with you, not the one that you're watching this on, but if you have your device with you, I just want to share with you to always, please go ahead and plug in and keep this on your screen, something that you look at daily, if not daily, weekly, but please make sure you stay in touch and connected with the South Carolina High School League's website and our social media. schsl.org. That is a site, that's our website. The calendar is updated daily. We have communication tabs. There's always an important scroll that goes through on that page, as well as our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram. Those are the social media sites that right now we'd like for you all to, if you're taking selfies and screenshots and so forth, be sure to tag us on all of those platforms, because we like to hear from you. We like to see that you're engaged and you're keeping up with not only things happening at your school, but also around the state. Speaking of things at your school, another piece of advice that I'm going to give you is stay ahead, get ahead, visit your own school website frequently, not just the athletic website. Some of you have separate websites. Make sure that you stay in touch with your school website and your athletic page. You need to lock in the dates of fall sporting events. I'm not talking about at the end of the season when championships and playoffs are going on. I'm suggesting that you make sure that you have, make sure that you check the calendar on your athletic page, as well as events going on. Some of you have some activities and academic groups that need your support. So I suggest that you get out of your comfort zone and not only support your peers on your team, but also show support to the other athletic and activity groups at your school. So check that calendar out, look at your own calendar. And if there's any way that you can squeeze in attendance to show support for your peers, please do so. This is a great time to get ahead. We're at the start of school, so your calendar should, have some space there, some wiggle room for you to get out and support some others. And keep in mind to take your position here, your position as a leader, take that very seriously. It's not just an ego boost, but it is a mark of trust. You've got to be the benchmark for not only in-person communication, but also online. So keep that in mind when you have your own social media accounts. Make sure that you are typing and sharing and videoing and those sort of things. Make sure it's positive stuff that will uplift your team and your school and your community. And Coach Cave, you can just let me know when you're ready, and I will.
Is everything visible now?
Yes.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things about being proactive is that things are going to happen. You got to be able to monitor and adjust. And this ties well into being a team captain because situations will arise where you have to make adjustments on the fly. And thus, I had to make adjustments on the fly. So thank you for bearing with me. It is indeed an honor to be here presenting on leadership and what leadership looks like as part of the Captain's Council. As stated in the intro, I am a former athlete. I'm a former coach. I currently work with athletic administrators around the state of South Carolina. And it is an honor to be here and to touch bases on what you can do to make yourself a better captain. Thus, your team benefits from your leadership. One of the things Coach Bell mentioned earlier, and I made a note to myself, teams that are championship teams on a professional level are player-led, on a high school level are student-led. That's why your leadership is so important. Part of being a great leader to your peers and a go-between with your coaches starts with relationships. You have to have a relationship with your peers. You have to carry yourself in such a way that they look to you for and expect for you to be the guy, to be the girl. And what comes along with that is there's a level of respect that is given to you as it pertains to being recognized as the captain. There's a correlation between relationships and trust. Let me repeat that. There's a correlation between relationships and trust. It's important as part of having a relationship with someone that is meaningful. There must be a level of trust. Your peers should trust that you're going to always try to do the right thing. Your peers should trust that you're going to always lead them in the right direction. Your coaches should trust that you are going to be a go-between with the team and the coaching staff in a positive way. Results of generally caring about student-athlete outcomes, that is the end result. The coaches want to see the outcome, which is positive in nature. And that looks like inspiring your people, empowering people, and having a shared vision. All of those things are encompassed in leadership. How to lead. This is one of the most important areas of leadership because it boils down to how do you do it. For these bullet points, and we're going to focus on all four, it is important to be liked. Is it important to be liked as a leader? It is important for, and this ties back into the relationship piece. To be a leader, it is important that there is a level of likability and like for your peers to like you. Is it necessary? Is it an end game? If you're not, it is not. But in most instances, the leader is liked. The captain is liked by the peers. Is it important to be respected as a leader? Again, words hold value. Your words carry weight. And part of you being an effective leader means that there is a level of respect that is earned through your actions, through your ability to communicate, through your gameplay. What is more important? One weighs no heavier than the other. So being liked and being respected, they both are equal in value. They both are equal in importance. Can you be both? Yes. Can you be an effective captain and not be respected by all of your peers? That to me is difficult, because they have to be a level of respect, but you don't have to be liked by all in order to lead. How to lead. Leadership equals bringing out the best in others. Effective leaders bring out the best in others. So if I'm the captain of the football team, or I'm the captain of the cross-country team, through my verbalizing what things may need to look like, or just communicating with my teammates to find out, hey, you're not having a good day. Let me try to intervene and see what's going on. These small things, while trivial to some, reflect great leadership, because the team goes as we all go. There's no, and I know you probably hear this from your coaches, there is no I in team. So leadership brings out the best in others. And the best in others could be simple as finding out whether it's bothering a peer on the team. Okay? Effective leadership comes in many forms. There's servant leadership, thought-provoking, courageous leaders, leaders by example, and vocal leaders. We're going to touch on all four of these very briefly. Servant leadership, I'm big on this. I would never, as a player, ask another player to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. You have to be willing to serve. I cannot come in and say, hey guys, we need to pick up police the locker room and pick up trash. But then I walk out of the locker room. If I'm going to come in and ask that of my teammates, then I'm going to grab a broom and I'm going to start the process. Servant leadership. A leader must also be thought-provoking. You got to inspire. It's not enough to verbalize and communicate and be a rah-rah guy. But sometimes your leadership requires that. In the spur of the moment, you got to be able to bring all together through some type of phrase, some type of, hey guys, remember this, remember our why. We got to know our why. We got to do this collectively. We're doing it for our community. You got to be thought-provoking. You got to be courageous as a leader. You got to be willing to do the uncommon. You've got to be willing to do the uncommon things. That means stepping out, stepping to the forefront, stepping in front, going to your coaches and having difficult conversations, calling a team meeting and having difficult conversations as a group, collectively amongst your peers. And then leaders by example and vocal leaders. Again, you probably fit in one of these four categories. But it's difficult for me to lead and I not give an example of what that leadership looks like. So I can't ask you, hey guys, you need to pick it up, or here, hey ladies, we got to pick it up doing volleyball. You know, we got to pick it up during this conditioning period, but then I'm the last person in conditioning. That doesn't equate. You've got to lead by example. So if I ask you to pick it up, I need to be leading the pack myself. Leading by example, again, requires these 4 things. It requires commitment, it requires confidence, it requires composure, and it requires character. These things are the 4 pillars of being a leader. What does confidence look like? You've got to believe in yourself. On and off the field, on and off the court, in and out of the pool. Whatever your sport, yourself. You also want to perform in pressure situations. You've got to be that young lady, or you've got to be that guy that says a play has to be made. I'm going to make the play. You have to have a level of mental and emotional resilience following mistakes. If you play football, you get beat on a deep ball as a defensive back, that play is over. I'm going to make up for it the next play. I'm going to go make a play to erase that one lapse in judgment or a mistake that may have been made on that play to result in a big play for the opposing team. So you got to have a level of confidence. Composure, able to keep emotions in check. You got to keep calm when everyone else is losing their head around you. You can never show fear, even though you may be shaking inside and you know that the situation is a major situation. You have to stay calm. Your calmness calms everyone else down. You have to be able to control negative emotions. Finger pointing, arguments between teammates, you've got to be able to intervene in a positive way to help everyone say, hey, look, this is difficult. We're in a difficult position, but we can get through this, but we can only get through this together. You got to have character. With having character, it means that you're going to do the right thing on and off the court and field. You can't talk to your peers about using alcohol or smoking or vaping or other things that are things that your coaches talk to you collectively about not doing. And then as soon as you leave campus, you go and you do these things. So you have to do the right thing on and off the field. You got to be responsible. You got to be accountable. You got to be reliable. Your teammates have to be able to count on you. Your coaches you got to be accountable to your coaches, and you got to be a person that's responsible and doing the right thing. Treat people with respect. You can't be disrespectful to your peers. You can't be disrespectful to your coaches, and then you got to demand that. You got to be honest with coaches, teammates. You got to be trustworthy. All of these things represent what character looks like. Commitment. You got to be, again, self-motivated, self-disciplined. You got to be one of the hardest workers in the room. You've got to be that alpha male or alpha female. You've got to be that. You got to be, no one can outwork you, and thus they were more aligned and follow you because your effort is consistent all the time. Cares passionately about the team's success. I don't know anyone that participates on the team that doesn't want to win a championship. Everything that you do should be leading you, leading your peers, leading the community, leading the school towards our end game, which is being champions. And you got to be competitive. You got to be competitive. Here's some communication keys. Listening is essential. listening process and then make decisions, direct and honest in those communications, encouraged by remaining positive. You got to be positive. You got to be inclusive and not exclusive. You've got to include people. You've got to talk to everyone on your team. You can't talk to certain individuals. It's got to be all. You got to talk to the freshmen the same way you talk to your other seniors on that team. Good communication, again, ties back into trust. Doc Rivers has a quote that I have here, and it says, I communicate to my team not just collectively as a team, but individually. I have to know where each person is in order to lead them where I need them to be. As a captain, you have to have an idea of where everyone is so that you can lead them to where that team needs to be. This is a quote that I'm very fond of by Maya Angelou, and it simply says, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. As a captain, it all boils down to how you treat those that are choosing to follow you, your peers, your teammates. It is critical how you make them feel. And finally, I'm going to leave you with expectations, and there's 5 things that we're going to run through real quickly. Success as a leader requires a natural ability to engage with others. Again, the chemistry must be there. You must have conviction. You must be a person of character. You must be committed. And more than anything, you must be courageous. You must be courageous. Again, I'm honored to have presented to you guys, and that ends my portion of the leadership.
All right, thank you, Coach Cave. Great presentation. Got lots of questions coming in, so we'll hold those till the end. I just want everyone to remember to send those questions in, and we were going to get to Q&A with each of our presenters at the end of our workshop. But before we get to that, we have one final presenter, and she is an outstanding athlete, coach, and educator. Her mantra is, teaching is not just a job, it's my passion. She's a former South Carolina High School League state champion athlete, as well as the Gatorade Female Athlete of the Year. And this was all done during her attendance at Irmo High School. As a college athlete, she earned an all-ACC honors for 3 years while competing as a track athlete at the University of Virginia. Dr. Rodan is affectionately known as Trell, a free-spirited coach, and she's known for just simply loving teaching and coaching. A very big fan of teaching and learning, a lifelong learner. So she says she has been in education for 15 years and taught in Anderson County, Greenville County, Richland County, and now she is with Lexington Richland 5. We must share with you that she recently returned to the track as a master's athlete and won the national championship long and triple jumps and placed second in the 100 hurdles. Captains, I present to you Dr. Trell Rodan with best practices in leading a team.
Thank you for that. Good afternoon, everyone. I am so honored and glad to be with you guys. So you have learned what it means to be a captain. Hopefully today I will give you a gift of giving you some ideas, tips, and tricks on your best practices on how you can actually practice some of those skills that you learned about today. So I hope you're with me. So the first thing is I like to be very interactive. So If you already have some ideas, I think that collaboration is one of the best ways for us to learn. So if you already have particular things that you do as a captain, and you're pretty proud of yourself for how you've been able to do that, go ahead and put that in the chat so that we can all look at some of the great ways in which you already lead by example. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and try and share my screen. Host disabled. Okay, so there's once again another difficulty with sharing the screen. It's saying host disabled participant screening sharing. So in the meantime, I'll go ahead and talk about those practices. And so some of the things that you need to know is how to lead by example. So one of the greatest or best practices that one could have is for you to come up with your own, to already look up athletes that you find to be exciting or that you already have such an affinity for. These could be like Serena Williams, or, you know, since she's retiring, I had to shout her out. But any athlete that you already know of, that you already have an affinity for, find quotes, find things that they have said, write them down, get yourself a notebook and just be a quote writer, so that anytime you have your teammates and they need to hear from you, you always have a word for them. You always have something motivating to say to them. And that is what it means to lead by example. So there'll be 5 things that I'll talk about, which is lead by example, how to stay consistently confident, how to be emotionally disciplined, and then why it's so important to know your team. And then lastly, how to be clear and concise with your communication. So let's go ahead and talk about the lead by example. So the lead by example portion, I said find an inspirational mentor or motivational speaker that you like. I like to go on YouTube, right? We all know about YouTube. I think there's the lion mentality is one of my favorite YouTube videos. And so it's only about 3 minutes. You can submit those things to your team on your own groups. Like I know you guys do chats and group messages. Those group messages from you with a quote in the morning to get everybody in the right headspace really pays dividends when it's time for the actual practice time, or when it's time for the actual meet or game, or any of those types of things. Next, let's talk about how to stay consistently confident. So it is very important that you daily practice staying confident. And the way that you stay confident is by doing exactly what you need to do daily. But there's also, you can create a call and response with your team. So every day that you guys are at practice, or every time you have a game, you should be saying something and your team should be responding back to you. So for example, the coach at the University of South Carolina in track and field, he has a call and response. Try sharing it now. Okay, I hope I can share it. Give me a second. I'm going to try and share it because I want to show you these things. Okay. Yay. I think we're up. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, it looks perfect.
Yay. Okay. Now listen, I gotta go back because I tried to shout all my my fall sport athletes out. So these are the main 4 things we're talking about. Okay, lead by example. So if you did not get anything else, at least take a little picture of this so you know all the 5 things practices we're going to give you. Okay, so lead by example, be consistently confident. So those are the 2 things we already discussed. And then I'm going to give you the call and response now. So let's get to that. All right, call and response. So confidence is a feeling of trust and firm belief in yourself and others. And so a call and response is a way to get that consistency of confidence. So here is one that is given by Coach Fry. He does this every time he's at a track meet with his athletes, but this is something that you as a captain can also do. So he will say, if it's to be, and then the team will go, it's up to me. Who can is the question he will ask them, and they will go, I can. Then lastly, what's to do? And they say, let's do it. And so that is very important to have these consistent ways of doing things, these consistent call and responses, because it's a call to action and you want to be the one who calls your team to action. All right, next. It is important to have fire in the belly and ice on the brain. You probably have heard your coach talk about an athlete who's a bit of a hothead. And that's not used as a positive statement. That's usually meaning that they're not able to have that emotional discipline. Now, it is okay. Anger is an okay response, right? Like a lot of people are like, oh, it can't be. No, anger is it's an okay response. But if you're not using it properly, if you're not harnessing however you're feeling in a positive way, in a building way, then it can be very destructive. So this is the video that kind of helps me to see it, to bring it out. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen this. I'm a Marvel fan. So let's play it.
Now might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret, Cat. I'm always angry.
A leader knows when and when not to turn it on. You need to know when to let out the beast. Okay, when you're an athlete, it is important to be able to turn on the maximum amount of power and strength and confidence that you have. And you being able to harness your emotional discipline and to be able to harness that energy in a positive way will only maximize itself with your teammates. Okay. And so that is an example of what that looks like. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. You should always have a little bit of a fire in your belly. You should always have a little bit of like, let's get this, let's go, I'm ready. But you just need to know when to go ahead and let it out. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. Now, the other presenters were letting you know that you and your coach are going to be able to have kind of this wonderful communicating relationship with one another. And you also want to be proactive in that communication. So you want to be able to, and you should ask your coach if you can play a name game, because it is going to be most important for you as a captain to know the names of your teammates. Okay, I know it seems kind of minuscule and small, but you have no idea the dividends it will pay off if you know everybody's name, because that level of respect will be reciprocated. They want to respect you. They want to trust you. And in order to gain trust, the easiest way to gain someone's trust is to know their name and not call them, hey, you. Okay, so name games are really great for that. You can look that up also again on YouTube. There are all these fun little games that you can play in order to get that camaraderie. So with that being said, you also want to learn how to not just do your sport with your team, but you also need to come up with fun activities and even ask if you can have even one fun practice where you guys get to know each other and become closer. And a captain, that's your job to create that leadership and to create those fun games and practices, okay? So the coach should be able to look to you for those types of things, because like the other panelists were saying, there's gonna be a lot on your coach's plate. So if you can already start setting those fun activities into practice, it would really be helpful for the team in the long run. Lastly is communication. And so there's already been a discussion about communication, but the best thing that I can say as far as practices is concerned is you want to get, I like little note cards And you, especially since I might present, and I was telling my cross-country athletes the other day, sometimes you're supposed to present as confident, but you might not always be confident. Coach Rodan is not always confident. Sometimes I don't always believe in myself all the time. But when I write it down, then I get very clear on the message I'm trying to send or the message I'm trying to say to others. So I think it is very important for you to write it down and edit what you want to convey to your team and what you want to convey to your coaches. And these are things you need to keep in mind. You know your vision for the team and communicate it often. So you right now, I have homework for you. I want you to make sure to get you a nice little note card like this and already have your vision for your team. Okay. And this could be, when I say vision, I just mean a direction. It could be one word. Okay. I want my team to be confident. I want my team to have pride. I want my team to execute what coach has asked us to do. And then you just focus in on that one thing that you have visioned for your team. That is a great practice that you can have. So when you're communicating, you'll be clear, confident, and concise because your wording, your verbiage will always be the same. You'll always say, like last year during cross-country season, I had an athlete and he used to always say, it's about your mentality. You have to have a good mentality. And he used to, preach that at every time we were at the track, and it paid in dividends to the athletes because they knew when it was time for them to focus and have a strong mentality. And so, that you guys always do hashtags. You need to have your own hashtag. Okay. So when you are on social media or when you are communicating with your team, everybody knows your brand. Everybody knows your hashtag. Okay. I mean, it can go, let's get it, pride, whatever you have your hashtag, you have the thing that you say, and it needs to be something that's concise, clear, and confident. All right. And that's me being concise, clear, and confident. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat. It has been a pleasure to talk to you guys today.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Coach Rodan, and thank you to each of our presenters. Before we close, we do have some remarks from Commissioner Singleton. I believe he will be coming on shortly. Yep, here he is. So welcome, Commissioner Dr. Jerome Singleton.
Thank you, Ms. Newman. What a great workshop. Had wonderful presenters, and you have got great nuggets from all that was shared. So I challenge you to be great captains. Be ones that will do the right thing, even when the right thing's not popular. We're counting on you. This is the first of many captains courses that we'll have. So please take advantage of it. Use it. Let others see what you've learned from it. So as we move on and have others, and others come before you, they receive the same message. Again, we're counting on you. You are an extension of your coaches, and you are an extension of the team to the coaches. Great topics, great information shared. I challenge you to be great captains. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Singleton. Before we release everyone, we do have some questions. If our presenters would join me, I will just start sharing some of these questions and directing them to you. Coach Bell, do you think it should be up to the coach or the team itself to select the team captain?
I always think that it's important for the coach to make that final selection, but I've always encouraged my coaches to get input from the team. I think that's just a good practice when you're doing your end of the year awards and when you're doing your captains. I've found the majority of the time the athletes, they usually do a pretty good job of picking the person that the coaches are kind of leaning towards anyway. It's just a little bit of a confirmation. And if as a coach, you have two people in mind, and the top two vote getters from the athletes are completely different, it may give you a little bit of pause to think and ask some questions, because some of the stuff we talked on, maybe the two kids you think are the best example of athletes, maybe they're also the two who don't fit in with the rest of the group, and you maybe need to go with a little balance. So I think ultimately the coach should make the decision, but I do think it's very important to get input from the students.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach Bell. Coach Cave,
Yes.
what do you do if you have very little in common with a struggling teammate? If you're a leader, how do you grow trust with someone that you cannot necessarily relate to?
It boils down to trying to find some commonalities through communication. It may be as simple as talking about a class that you may take algebra or a calculus course together, or what have you, and you using that as an icebreaker to dive deeper into getting to know that person. And I encourage you to, again, as a leader, the trust side of it can only be developed through clear and concise communication. And so my answer to that is, again, just try to find an icebreaker to get the conversations going, and then allow that to lead you ultimately where you want to go in regards of developing that relationship with that individual.
Okay, thank you. And Coach Rodan, Dr. Rodan, how do you handle a negative Nancy if you try to inspire fun while accomplishing the same goal?
So once again, the leading by example is super important in this way. So whenever you're dealing with someone who's a little bit of a negative Nancy, the way you kind of flip that on them is to make them an ally. Once they feel like you see them, you hear them, and you remind them of the goal and the vision that we're all trying to accomplish together, that taking them aside and just talking to them about, like, we have this shared goal, we're really excited about where we're headed, and I see you, I think you're really great for our team. So if, like, before you come to practice, there are a couple things I want you to be responsible for. So give them a responsibility. Like, I want you to be responsible for, like, it could be something very simple, like, hey, give them water and give one person a compliment. Or it really doesn't matter what their responsibility is. Once they feel connected, they're more likely to be less negative and go back toward what the common goal is. Yeah.
I think that's the educator in you, because I believe I've heard other educators and teachers say that that's how they deal with, a difficult student, is give them responsibility, let them be, give them a job for the class, and that turns them around. So that's true. Another round of questions really quick. Coach Bell, you mentioned quietly correct. Should a team captain share with the coach everything that's going wrong, or should they try to mend mistakes on his or her own?
I think as a captain, you've got to kind of figure out, we mentioned the word discern a lot. We put a lot of responsibility on you to discern information. And I think the coach has put you in that leadership position to trust you, and they're going to trust your ability to discern what is something that's correctable that can be done at the peer level. How to field a ground ball, how to hit the ball correctly in volleyball, being on time for practice. Things like that are very peer correctable things that we as coaches love for y'all to take a leadership role in. But sometimes there'll be some things that are outside of the realm of peer correction. Outside activities that are happening off the field, sometimes it may be a concern of yours. I think that's one that's maybe best passed on to an adult to handle in that leadership, give their viewpoint and leadership perspective. So you as an athlete have kind of got to discern what's on a peer level, and then what's on an adult level. And that may be an ongoing conversation that you have with the head coach as you try to develop your leadership style.
Okay, thank you. And Coach K, there's a couple of questions that are similar to that one, but worded a little differently. So I'm going to read this and you can give me your feedback. You mentioned a leader is the go-between for coach and team. What advice do you have not to abuse that position? And I think this is kind of sort of the same question. If a teammate shares with you in total confidence, information such as example, I don't know the playbook or the scouting report, is that something you share with the coach?
For me, that simply means this: as a leader, part of my responsibility as a captain is to assist that individual. So if they're having difficulties in learning the playbook, then it's my responsibility to say, hey, I can help you there. Let's figure out where you may be challenged with the playbook, and concentrate on those areas so that I can help you to improve and make your weaknesses your strength. As far as sharing that with the coach, I think that if it's something that is detrimental to the team, I would simply say to the coach that, such and such player is kind of having some challenges with the playbook, but coach, I'm going to help them. I'm going to help them. So in the same way that you're sharing and acknowledging that that issue, you're also helping to bridge that gap by saying, but coach, I'm going to help fix it. So that's what you do as a leader. That's what you do as a captain. You become that bridge, like Coach Bell has been stating. You need to become that bridge, and where that kid and that weakness, because that's a weakness for the team. Mm-hmm. So where that weakness now exists, you become that bridge to bring it all together for the coach, for the betterment of the team, and for the growth of that individual player.
Right. So you're basically, as a leader, part of that responsibility is finding a solution or helping, create a solution for the situation at hand. So, and a question for you, Dr. Rodan. I have that fire in my belly, but I don't have the ice on the brain or in my veins. How can I, or what can I do to work on this?
It's called pause before you react. So it's just a basic breathing. You just breathe. I know it sounds very simple, but it is simply that. It is important. That's the reason why I want you guys to make your note cards when you, before you start your season, with your one word or, the one thing that you're trying to commit to for that year. Because when you already know what you're committed to and you already know who you're committed to, that you're the captain, then when you breathe, you'll remind yourself, I'm the leader on this team. And so how I react will be how my teammates react. So it will help you to harness the fire and be able to release it when it is time, because everyone else is going to do exactly what you're going to do. So pause, breathe, and remember your purpose. And then you won't react as quickly.
Okay. And on that note, as we close, each of our presenters, I want you to give me your one word. Dr. Rodan.
Stay confident.
Coach Cave.
Persevere.
Coach Bell.
Lead.
All right. Well, this is why we had them here today, because each of them gave their own unique spin on what will help make you an even better leader. And so we appreciate everything that they have done and contributed. We hope that our fall sports benefit from today's event and the information that was shared, and we're here to serve you. So again, I ask that you stay connected with schsl.org. Reach out if there's anything that our staff can do or answer for you. Please contact us via email, phone call, or our social media. And I would just ask also one final reminder. If you feel that you have an interest, this is a you've got a year to think about this, but still put it on your planner. Each July, we send students to the national conference. We haven't in the past couple of years due to the virus and it was not happening, but we are starting early this year by locating and zeroing in on student leaders that have an interest in attending the National Federation's Student Leadership Summit during the summer of 2023. So keep that on your calendar. If you have an interest, let your coach know, and that's something that we can work on together this year, but you need to contact Danny Brooks here at the office. That's dbrooks@schsl.org for more information on that. With that, we're going to close. Wish you well, and I will leave with a piece of advice, and that's simply utilize the greatness within you. Have a great day, South Carolina, and a great season.